Hey there folks, today I'd like to take a casual peek into the S.H.Figuarts Masked Rider Black action figure set from Bandai. This set was first available in 2009 for the price of about 2,600 yen. And I believe this set has seen some re-releases. I'm not too sure on that. But I do know that this set is up for a renewal, which is more than just a simple re-release. This figure is going to have a new body mold with more up-to-date articulation and design. Now, I got this particular set in 2013 when I purchased it from Mandarake, which is a Japanese secondhand pop culture web store. And I only paid 1,000 yen for this set. Now, one of the reasons why I believe this set was relatively cheap was because this set is a pre-owned and pre-opened set. And also, I believe this set was relatively cheaper because of the upcoming renewal. So I expect to see more of the initial Masked Rider Black figure sets to be a little bit cheaper. Taking a closer peek at Masked Rider Black and the packaging here, you can see one of the last of the Showa era Kamen Riders here in a pretty simple pose there and a nice window. And the figure is in the older S.H.Figuarts style of packaging with the gray box, black lettering with the name of the figure there, as well as the black and white photo of the character from the show, Kamen Rider Black. And you can see down here the Toei seal of approval, the name in Japanese, Masked Rider Black, and you can also see the show logo for Kamen Rider Black. Pretty cool. And here we have the name of the figure on the side of the box, and it's pretty much the same on the other side here. And over here we have some print in Japanese, probably more informational on their contact information and some other information that I can't read, unfortunately. And here we have the back of the packaging with Kamen Rider Black there coming out of the mists, you could say, in a nice pose, which is pretty typical of the opening of the show, where he comes through those doors. And you have some insert photos of the figure in a simple pose here, and you have him in a little bit more dynamic pose there, and even more dynamic pose with a rider kick down in this insert image. And there's also print in Japanese as well throughout the back of the box, some in English right there you can see, but a lot of it in Japanese. Now we'll be right back and have Kamen Rider Black out of the packaging. Okay, we have Kamen Rider Black out of the packaging, and as you can see, there's not much included with the figure, just the extra hands and the part sheet, not much going on. Another reason why this is more on the inexpensive side compared to other Kamen Rider sets. Now, I have to say that I don't know much about Kamen Rider Black. In fact, I'm just starting to watch this series as of this video, and I'm learning as I'm going. What I do know is that Kamen Rider Black, much like most Showa era Kamen Riders, is a cyborg engineered against his will. Now, Kotaro, who is Kamen Rider Black, and his stepbrother Nobuhiko were actually kidnapped by the evil organization of Gorgom. And Gorgom is attempting to engineer both of the stepbrothers to create their next leader, the Century King. And they are attempting to convert both of the stepbrothers at the same time and have them duke it out to find out who the victor is, and that victor will become the Century King. Now, before all of that happens, Kotaro actually escapes his engineering with the help of his stepfather, who actually is a member of Gorgon, which is kind of interesting. But I guess he has a change of heart at the last minute when he finds out they need to wipe out his memories. But anyways, he helps Kotaro escape, and with his newfound engineered powers, Kotaro calls himself Kamen Rider Black on a play on the original names of Black Sun and Shadow Moon, which were the names that Gorgon were going to give the stepbrothers. But Kamen Rider Black now combats Gorgon to help protect humanity and humanity's freedom, and also is on a quest to help free his stepbrother who he had left behind, regretfully. That's about as much as I know. It's basically the first and second episodes of the show. But like I said, I'm learning as I'm going, and it's actually turning out pretty well. Now, I've heard and read that Kamen Rider Black is regarded as one of the best of the Kamen Rider shows in both Showa and Heisei eras, and which is pretty high praise. Now, there is a direct sequel to Kamen Rider Black called Kamen Rider Black X, and I guess it was so popular that Saban actually adapted Kamen Rider Black RX, or R-Cross, into for Western audiences as Masked Rider. And so he may look sort of familiar. He looks a little different in the black rendition here, but a very cool character from what I've watched so far, and I look forward to watching the rest of the series. But now on to the items that are included with Kamen Rider Black. Of course, we have the obligatory part sheet that comes included with most Figuarts sets. It's always wrapped in a nice plastic baggie here for preservation, I guess, which is cool. And let me just take this out here. And we have a nice small sheet because it's not very many items included. And we have how to use all of the alternate hands and how to replace them on the arms of the figure. Pretty cool. You got some information here in a box. I don't know what it says, as well as over here, and I don't know what that says either. So, but information about Masked Rider Black right there. So kind of cool. Now, taking a look at the extra hands, actually there's not very many hands compared to other Figuarts sets, about a decent amount. We have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 extra hands in addition to the closed fists that are attached to the figure. And let's go ahead and take a look at the hands. We get a pair of flat palms, mainly for his henshin pose, as well as other poses you can put him in, but you can use them as chopping motions, I guess. But interesting, the fingers here are slightly bendable, a softer plastic material here. It's got some nice, decent sculpting going on. There's no, what do you call it, no ornate designs or anything. It's pretty flat in the back of the hand there, on a gloved hand. Pretty cool. You get a pair of those, and you also get a pair of grasping type hands on there with all of the fingers separated from each other, and you have the opposable thumb as well. Again, nothing ornate on the design, so rather simple design for Kamen Rider Black. But you get a pair of grasping type hands, and then you get this one extra hand here, a pointing pair of fingers, 2 fingers, the index finger and the middle finger there in a pointing pose for the right hand. None for the left hand, so this might be a Kamen Rider Black specific pose. I haven't seen him use it yet, but I'm pretty sure I'll run into it as I watch the series. So that's pretty cool. Now on to the Kamen Rider Black figure. It's actually a pretty decent figure for an earlier Figuarts design, and I'm quite happy with it, even for its early articulation design. But overall, it's a pretty decent figure. And looking at the figure, you could see It's a very simplistic type of setup. It's almost just plain black, just a little bit of decorative stuff going on here and there, primarily in the yellow and red areas of the wrist, the ankles, and the head area. But overall, he is just like his name, black in color, and you also have some accents a little bit in silver there, kind of cool. But a very simple design, a design that actually works, and from a show of the mid to late 80s. I believe the show was on in 1987. But taking a look at it, it's very simple and I should say effective, because there's nothing ornate about the design. It doesn't hinder any of the articulation. So even with the simpler articulation by today's standards, it's actually very articulated, just due to the simple nature of the design. But taking a look at some of the details, starting off with the head here, you could see very bug-like in design, as with most Kamen Riders. I think the closest reference to a bug is a grasshopper. Very cool. You got the compound eyes done very, very well. You could see all the little details within the transparent plastic of the bulbous reddish eyes. Very, very neat. And then you have the antenna here, which are made of a softer plastic. You can see how I'm bending that back and forth there. Very soft. And nice thing about this particular one, it's formed in basically a perfect position there. It's not skewed by packaging or anything like that. So very, very cool. It's a little slightly bent forward here, but not that big a deal. Overall, the position of the V-like antenna is very done very well. Now, it's a little off scale. It's a little thicker in figure form here, but I think you can't really get away with that due to manufacturing. I think this is probably the best they could do, which is not too bad. But that's really the only thing I could see that's not entirely show accurate with the figure. But pretty cool nonetheless. And you could see on the back of the head the stripes in yellow and red along the side here, which is kind of cool. And then you have some stripes here with red surrounded by silver paint on there, which is kind of cool. Yeah, this middle stripe here is actually painted, while the two side ones here are, I believe, Tampa graphic on there. So pretty cool. And then looking again at the front, you can see the mask of this particular Masked Rider. Very cool. It's sculpted on there with the lines on there. It's actually pretty cool. You can see how it's one is raised over the other. Pretty neat and nicely done there. Moving down to the torso, you have this suit-like piece of armor in black, and which is pretty cool. And then you have this tempo here of his insignia for Kamen Rider Black there. Kind of cool. I'm not sure what that's supposed to represent entirely. If it's translated into something or not, I don't know. But that's his insignia on his chest there. And I don't know if you can notice it, but the suit he wears is primarily black, sort of a rubberized type suit. And then in between the joint areas is actually kind of cool. It's a very dark brown and sculpted lines throughout wherever you have joints on this figure, which from the what I've seen on the show and in pictures is pretty accurate. Now, I don't know if that's supposed to represent sinews or musculature underneath, or cybernetics. I really can't tell, even from what I've seen on the show. But it's kind of cool to how they added this detail to represent that on the show. You can even see it in the elbows here, anywhere where there's exposure of the joint areas. You can see it in the mid-torso area there, kind of cool. In the hips area right there, and even in the, well, not really in the back of the leg there, but you can even notice the paint of dark brown on the wrists. So that's really kind of cool how they added that layer of detail on there. And you could see the details on the ankles and the neck area. There's that same, this although is painted on, as opposed to this over here on the head, but it's painted on the neck area, on the wrists, and on the ankles. There's a little bit of paint slop on mine, or actually it's just scratch on mine. I don't know if that was due to the previous owner or if that was due to manufacturing, but really the only blemish on this figure I can really tell. But it's overall a really nice figure. Moving down here to the mid area, the belt area, you have the driver, which is pretty detailed. In the center you have this, what looks like a reddish eye. You got a piece of transparent plastic and sculpting underneath it, which is kind of cool on there. And the reddish area have sculpted lines, so it really looks like an eye to me. And it's very neat. And then you have some painted details. I don't know if that's a button there, in black and green, and a little bit tiny red on a little dot right there, which is a nice attention to detail. And then the sculpting of the belt is actually pretty cool. Now the driver does not come off. It can't be removed. It looks like it's just part of the sculpt, or it's glued in to the belt. But it's still a very nice piece there. I like that a lot. And moving down to the legs, very simple in design, just a body suit or armor, but it's very, very cool, very smooth on there. You can see the contours of the legs and in the arms on there, so it's actually quite cool on there. And down to the feet, you have, I guess, a pair of boots or shoes on there, so but it's really part of the suit. So overall, a very nice, simple design on this figure. Very, very cool. It does have some sculpted details on the feet on there with some tread design. So very, very cool. Now moving on to articulation. Very decently articulated just due to the simplicity of the sculpt. The head is on a ball joint at the top of the neck, so you can move the head up and down, as well as all the way around and side to side. It seems to be a ball socketed joint. And there's an additional joint at the bottom of the neck that's also ball socketed. You can get it up and down, side to side, or around if you can grip it. And the combination of both joints on the neck provide quite a bit of posability for the head, which is quite nice there. The shoulders have hinges at the top of the shoulder for the shoulder armor, and doesn't not impede the rest of the arm on articulation. And you can see that the shoulder can go all the way around, as well as out and in. And there's an additional articulation within the shoulder in the chest area that can provide forward and back movement, as well as additional up and down movement. I believe that's a ball socketed joint as well. So you can, nice array of posability options for the arm. The bicep can go all the way around. There are hinges at the elbow. I believe multiple hinges, so you can bend the arm about that far in and this far out. And there's a combination of ball joints and hinge joints at the wrist, so you can bend the hand in and out, and you can also twist the hand around on a ball joint. And if you move the hinge position around in relation to the hand, you can get side to side movement of the hand as well. So that's kind of cool. Now the torso has what I think is a ball socketed joint, so you have that round circular motion at the upper part of the mid torso. You can bend it down and back, side to side, and doesn't look like you can bend it all the way around, but there is additional movement at the waist, another probably ball socketed joint, so you can bend the mid torso down, up and back, side to side. So with the combination of the mid torso and upper torso, you can get a nice range of movement for Kamen Rider Black here. So very, very cool. Legs are joined at the hip with the older style Figuarts design of a combination of swivel and hinges at the hip. You can move the leg upwards, down, back, and out to the side as well. You do not have that pull down feature that are with the more later Figuarts design, which really I don't think is needed too much. You can get a variety of poses with the leg at this hip type joint. There is a swivel at the top of the thigh, so you can move the leg around. And there are hinges at the knees, so you can bend the leg this far back and this far straight. And there are multiple hinges in the foot area, starting with above the ankle, just below the design. Here you can move the entire foot all the way around. There's a hinge where you can point the foot upwards and downwards. There's an ankle pivot where you can pivot the ankles from side to side with a nice range of movement there. And there's a hinge at the toe, so you have very nice posing possibilities with this figure overall, not just in the feet, but very decent figure of a character I'm actually looking forward to watching, especially from the praise that many folks give this show, and just a very decent figure. Now, I'm pretty happy with this figure. I'm not sure if I'm even going to get the renewal. Now, I know it has better articulation joints, but with this figure here, it's pretty decent overall because of the simplistic nature of the sculpt. But I'm going to wait and see if I'm going to get the renewal of Kamen Rider Black as it comes out at the beginning of 2014. And we'll just have to wait and see, because I'm pretty happy with this particular version of Kamen Rider Black. This is my casual peek into the S.H.Figuarts Masked Rider Black. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.